Welcome to Becoming a Cook. I'm Charlie Wetzel. The secret to a great Thanksgiving is having great gravy. You can destroy your turkey, but if your gravy is really, really good, people will enjoy the meal. So I'm going to show you how I make my turkey gravy, and you will be able to have a great meal when you serve turkey. I used to start off with chicken stock, or I'd go looking for turkey necks or for turkey leg quarters or something in the butcher case, and they were always so expensive. I mean, can you imagine spending a couple dollars a pound for turkey necks, or even more than that for a turkey thigh? What I started doing a few years ago is buying what I call a sacrificial turkey. I finally figured out that when they put turkeys on sale, as they invariably do, this one was 49 cents a pound, for less than what it cost me to buy all these pieces and parts, I could buy an entire turkey, defrost it, and make stock out of it. It's been 4 days since I bought that turkey. It's been in the refrigerator and it has completely thawed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up, put some veggies in there with that, and I'm going to roast it. Let me take a look at this turkey and see what we're looking at. I've got a little bit of fat here, which I'm going to go ahead and throw in the pan. I should actually do this first, just so things don't stick. Obviously, you want to get rid of that plastic. This has got giblets here and a neck. That's going to go in here. A lot of times the giblets are in this cavity. This one's a little bit light. It looks like there's not a liver in here, but I would not put the liver in this anyway. But the gizzard, it can go ahead and go in here. I just want to cut this into pieces, and I'm using my little bit heavier chef's knife because I've got a lot of bone to go through. You don't need to worry about being real precise with this. You just want to get this in big enough pieces that you can work with it. A lot of times you can find a turkey 8 pounds, 10 pounds. This is 12, so it's a little bit larger than I normally use for this, but at 49 cents a pound, okay, I spent an extra $1. I definitely want all of these bones because that's where a lot of this flavor is. I've got my pieces in here. Normally, I would not use the same cutting board or meticulously clean it, but everything I'm going to work on now is just going in with the raw turkey. So what I've got here is I've got 2 carrots, 2 celery stalks, 2 onions, and a head of garlic. I've washed these, but you'll notice that I have not peeled the carrots. You could peel the carrots, but you don't necessarily need to. I'm taking these ends off. I'm going to cut into a fairly coarse chop. I want it to get some color, but I don't want it to turn to charcoal on me. And if you cut a fine dice, it can do that. And then with the onion, I'm leaving the skins on. When this goes in the stock pot, those skins will actually give this some color. So I'm just trying to cut these into chunks. And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and do an entire head of garlic. Now I just want to get all of this in this pan with the turkey. I've preheated my oven to 400. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in, and I'm going to leave it in until I've got really, really good color on this, and when I do, I'll flip it. I've been keeping an eye on the turkey, and it's been in for an hour and 20 minutes. So you can see this has got pretty nice color. This may seem like extra work, and it is, but it really pays off in the flavor of the stock. If you don't roast the bones, it just doesn't have the same richness and it doesn't have the same color. This is going to go back into the oven, and when this is browned, then we're going to put it in the stock pot. You notice I didn't put any herbs or spices or anything with those. Because I'm going to make the stock and then I'm going to reduce it, any flavor you put in there that can overwhelm it can really ruin it. So it's just going to be flavored with turkey and those few vegetables. The turkey's been in another 35 minutes and it's ready. This has got really, really great color. It's been caramelized. This even browned even faster than the other side, probably because it was already pretty hot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in a stock pot. So you can see down in here there's a lot of really good stuff. I'm going to get as much out as I can using a spatula. I'm going to put water in this and put it on the stove, bring it to a boil so that I can get all the other little bits of this out of this pan. There's color that's coming into the water. All of that is bringing flavor. Obviously when you do this, you want to try your best not to make a mess and pour this all over your stove. I've got it on high. I'm going to bring it to a boil and skim it. What I want to do is I want to get the scum off of it and any extra fat. Any of these black bits that look too dark, like maybe they're a little bit charred, I'm going to go ahead and fish some of those out too. Look at the color of this. If I hadn't roasted the meat of the bones, it'd be really, really pale, almost colorless. But this has a nice, rich, deep brown color. It's really going to make the gravy look good, taste good, and it'll be good in my dressing. This has been going about 40 minutes. This is done. Now I'm going to strain it. Normally I strain just through a strainer, but this has got so much stuff that I'm going to put the strainer and then a colander on top of that to catch the big stuff. I typically do this in the sink because it can be such a mess. This is really full. And you can see these are all the little bits that would have ended up in there had I not used this fine strainer as well. Now that I've done that, I'm actually going to put it back on the stove again, and I'm going to let it reduce. At this point, you could just stop and say I'm done, because this is a pretty rich stock, but I want to make it a little bit richer, so I'm actually going to boil it down a little bit and strengthen it. I've got more than a gallon here because this is a 5.5 quart stock pot. So I want to reduce this probably maybe by a quart, which would be 20%. So I'm being really careful with the heat because it can go from simmering to boiling over really quickly in this pot because it's so full. We'll try it about 15 minutes. Well, I'm strengthening the stock by boiling it down. I went and I pulled the meat out of the stock pot. Most of the flavor of the meat is now in the stock. This white meat, I'll take the skin off of this, and this will go to our dogs. They'll be very, very happy to get that. The dark meat, I'm going to pull that off the bones for the gumbo that I make after Thanksgiving. This has been cooking for a little more than an hour. I had it on a simmer, so the top was just kind of, it wasn't quite bubbling, but it was just kind of rumbling. You can see the ring of where it started out. So I've reduced this, I think pretty close to that 20% that I was shooting for. You can just see how rich this is. It's brown and it's rich and it smells and tastes like turkey. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, but I'm not going to do that until the temperature drops to right about 140 degrees, and then I put it in the refrigerator and get it to drop below 40 degrees pretty quickly. I'm not going to let it cool here. I'm going to put it back on the stove on a burner that's cold, and I'm going to check on it. I may have to wait an hour or longer. I typically do this 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving, and I do it while I'm doing other prep work so that it's not just one thing that I'm doing. So I'm getting my bread ready for my dressing, or I'm prepping vegetables. A lot of this time was just waiting. My last step is going to be to make gravy with it. Now, I'm going to film that actually on Thanksgiving Day. I've taken my turkey out of here. I want to go ahead and pour everything off. I want to get a sense of how much oil is in here and how much pan drippings or juices there are. All this stuff that's in the bottom here, this is really, really good stuff. You want every bit of that. I need to let this sit for about 5 minutes, and this is what I've got left of my turkey stock. You can see I've already used that much of it. That was for my dressing. I may use all of this in my gravy. If I don't, then I'll have a little bit left over from my gumbo. So this has been sitting for about 5 minutes. A lot of times you have a lot of juices in the bottom, but you can see this is mostly fat on top, and that's what we want. And now I just want to put oil in. So I'm pouring, and this is moving with it, but I'm stopping before that comes out. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn my fire on. I've got it on high right now, and I just want to sprinkle flour in here. The flour incorporates a lot more easily without the introduction of water. So if you've got just fat and flour, it's going to be easier. I am making a ton of gravy. If you were not making a lot of gravy, you'd use a lot less fat, you'd use a lot less flour. But because I'm doing such a large batch, I'm putting a lot of flour in this. I mean a ton of flour, because I've got more than a half a gallon of turkey stock that I can use with this. I've run out of gravy on Thanksgiving before. I've never had too much, because when people have leftovers, what do they want to put on the leftovers? Gravy. What I'm doing is I'm trying to get all this flour incorporated. I've turned this back down to low now. You don't want your pan to burn. You can see this is getting a little bit hot, but I've got this in the lowest temperature. So at this point, I want to make sure I have no lumps. I'm going to let this cook for a little while just to take the rawness out of the flour. That doesn't take very long, a couple of minutes. When I make any other kind of gravy, I always use wine. I use red wine for beef, I use white wine for chicken, and for pork I use both red and white. Turkey's the only gravy I don't use any wine, because I really want all the flavor to be about the turkey. And I'm going to start adding my stock. My stock is cold. Because it's so rich, it's gelatinized a little bit. So I'm going back to medium heat. Actually, I'm going to put it back down to low heat, I'm sorry. And then I just want to get all of this incorporated. What I'm trying to do now is keep this moving so I don't get lumps. Nobody loves lumpy gravy. I'm also scraping the bottom, trying to get any kind of little bits off the bottom. That's going to give it flavor. It's going to give it color. If there are any spots in your pan that look slightly burned, that's okay. I would just say don't scrape them as hard, because you don't want black bits coming out, but brown bits are great. So that little bit of pan juices that's down in the bottom here, if you have one of these basters, this is all like super concentrated stock. So if you've got this, what you can do is you can pull it off the bottom, and then you want that in your gravy. This is just getting ready to start thickening. All right, now I'm going to turn this heat up, and I'm going to keep adding liquid to this as well. Because I added so much flour, I know it's going to go from liquid to really, really thick pretty quickly. So as it's just about to start thickening, I'm giving it a little bit more liquid. So you can see how thick this is. It coats the spoon. So kind of as I expected, it's actually getting a little bit too thick. So now I'm going to start getting a sense of the flavor. Let me bring it back to a boil here real quickly. That's got a pretty good flavor. The flour needs to be cooked more, because I can still taste it. I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of this stock, because I think it needs it. I want to get every little bit that I can out of there. I know it needs garlic powder, and I'm going to give it just a pinch of the magic salt. It's mostly for the other spices. Because this turkey was brined, this is already pretty salty. And you don't want your gravy to be so salty that it makes everybody want something to drink to get the salt out of their mouth. So gravy that saves the turkey, you don't want to have something that saves the gravy. All right. Back up to high. All right, one more taste, and let's see how we're doing. That's done. If you do this for Thanksgiving one time, or for Christmas, you'll never go back. And it's just not the same. A packaged gravy, I've never made one. I've tasted one. They're not good. A gravy made with chicken stock is good, but a turkey gravy made with turkey stock is the bomb. So I hope you give it a try. I think you'll love it. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas.